So, hey guys, we are from Bytridge, and a little bit about us. We were established in 2008 with a little over 12 years of existence in this field, in this space. We have got over 100 happy clients. We have delivered 130 plus products and solutions, and we have made some substantial open source contributions as well. As far as the speakers go, Hitesh Sehgal, he is our software developer at Bytridge. And he is also one of our practitioners in Bytridge for ML practices. Hitesh has done a couple of projects. One is in Jarvis, which is an internal interview management portal, and in COVID Data Directory, which is basically integration with multiple external links to kind of put it together on one single UI. This is me. I'm Niket Chaudhary. I'm working as the product manager at Bytridge. I have extensive experience in healthcare, retail, and e-commerce. Outside of work, you can find me either with nature or playing or planning my next adventure as well. Let's get on to restrictions in online fresh delivery services. So before we get into the details of this, let me just kind of do some housekeeping work. If you think I'm stuck, it's not going forward. Yep. All right. So some housekeeping and the agenda items here. If you've got any questions, please post it in the question and answer, and we'll get to them in the end. And if you've got any further beyond it, you can send them to info@bytridge.com, and we will ensure we respond. As far as the agenda goes, we'll first try and understand the business, look at the various models within that business, look at the products that we are talking about, and we'll share some insights around that. We'll also look at the players who are in this market for this online fresh delivery service. And we will also hear some complaints and or some feedback from the customers that we have gathered through some research. We'll also look at the market size, and we'll also look at what impacts the bottom line. We'll look at the potential of improvement opportunities within this entire value chain. We'll also look at factors to be considered while predicting, because predictions can be a little tricky. And at the end, we'll have a live application of some AI ML models, and we'll talk more on details towards the end. As far as the business model goes, we have got three high-level business models that this delivery service has. One is a hyperlocal model, the other is an inventory model, and the third one is a hybrid model. Hyperlocal is more about the on-the-corner shops, which basically kind of provide services to that local community. Inventory model is much bigger than that, in which people maintain, or the companies maintain inventories, and then they basically have an application where you can order and they'll have them delivered maybe the same day or maybe the day after. In the hybrid model, they've got like small distribution centers which are community based, but they also maintain an inventory. So these are three models that these companies follow. As far as the product types and the insights, we have got the staple and cooking essentials, that is all your oils and your masalas and your staple diet. That constitutes around 33% of the market currently. Beyond that, we also have fresh produce, breakfast and dairy, snacks, beverages, meat and seafood, and some other items which have got lesser perishable timings, basically. We will be focusing on the ones that are in bold, that is fresh, breakfast, snacks, meat, and seafood. Now, one of the reasons is because it is growing at almost 30% CAGR, that is cumulative average growth rate. And this is basically the fastest growing product in this segment. So we need to focus on this because of the short shelf life. We need to have better predictions there. We'll look at the market scape in terms of how they are kind of distributed. We have got the B2C model, in which we have got the regular culprits, that is Reliance Retail, Big Basket, Amazon Fresh, Nature's Basket, etc. In the B2B manners, we have got Ninja Cart, we have got Udaan Fresh, and in the alternative are basically new business models that are coming out, which is called as Farm to Fork. And Swiggy specifically, basically because they have included a hyperlocal delivery model on the application. We'll basically say about this service, right? So as per one of the research items, and we've just considered very simple research that we want to portray in terms of if about 100 people were asked about how does this service meet your need, about 55%, that is these three, have basically kind of said that it has not met our need in a sense. Either there was a stock out and or the items were not available or on those lines. In another research, they basically figured that more than 40% of the respondents say that firstly they need some help choosing the items. And more than 40% of the respondents also said that they get something other than what they have ordered. So these are like problems which can be solved with AI ML implementations, in which we can have better predictions, and we can also like kind of give this individual or the customer that, okay, these are the things that probably you're looking for. Other than that, even in terms of if something other than what they have ordered, it very nearly stems from the fact that things were like out of stock and something else was actually put into the inventory. I've given some references as well. You can feel free to go and check them out later. Now let's talk about on how a marginal change in prediction quality can bring a big impact on the bottom line. Let's see. Before that, we'll just talk about the market size, because we need to understand what impact it will have. So in the B2C, it is about $2.9 billion worth today in India. In B2B segment, it's approximately $8 billion. Now, the B2B is actually expected, B2C is actually expected to grow to about $7 to $10 billion by 2023. Consider another fact that global market is at about $632 billion, in which India contributes, or India has a very small or minute percentage of it. So potential growth is pretty high in India. Now let's look at what impacts the bottom line, like how does it affect the business, right? So what benefits will it bring overall? So we just kind of considered about 4 or 5 factors which kind of will impact the bottom line. Is it will first reduce the customer anguish, because predicting it better will allow customers to get what they want. It will reduce waste in terms of items will not be lying on your shelf for a longer time, more than the perishable life. It will reduce the number of returns because people will be getting what they want. It will increase fresher deliveries, which in essence, overall, all this will include and increase your customer satisfaction and basically have happier customers. We'll look at the value chain, and we'll try and identify certain opportunities in those value chains as well, right? So we've kind of broken it down into 2 aspects. One is the logistics aspect, in which everything related to storage, communication to the customer, communication to the driver, etc., on how the inventory is managed, utilization and packaging, and also transportation finally. And the other aspect is basically order storage, order entry and processing, order stock, order pickup and assembly, and finally the order delivery. So these are 2 aspects of this entire business value chain. Now, if you guys just look at it, you have got potential probably all around, right? In terms of managing inventory, managing communication, managing storage facilities, managing transportation, and obviously finally delivery as well. But today what we will look at it is demand, because demand is something that makes all this happen. If there's no demand, there's nothing that will actually go, you'll not have anything existing there. So before we actually get into the weeds of the code and how predictions are actually happening, let's see some factors so that we can remember and we can see Hitesh kind of talk around them as well. We've got it on an Indian twist in terms of what all things around weather patterns, hot versus cold, monsoon versus dry. You've got any festivals and events that are upcoming that will impact your sales. You've got like different citizens or the demographics of the people change in around something over, say, if you're from South India, you'll probably like a certain type of food. If you're from North India, you'll like certain different type of food. So those things will impact your predictions. Any kind of upcoming income bonuses, salary hikes will impact your sales. Macroeconomic factors like unemployment, fuel prices, etc., will impact your sales. Advertisements, whether you've done an advertisement over social media versus television, is going to impact sales. And obviously the public health, which we should never negate because we are anyways going through all that, right? So these things kind of impact your sales predictions, and there are many factors actually that kind of affect on how you're going to predict. So it is humanly not possible to kind of consider all the factors together. So that is why the AI/ML models will help us predict better. Now, before I hand it over to Hitesh, to kind of show you some code which is in action and on how predictions are done better. Let me talk about what is it all about. So firstly, we'll be taking the simplistic example, right? In which we have got, say, a departmental store kind of a setup. You've got multiple locations there, and you've got multiple departments within that store. So what we are going to do is we are going to predict at a weekly level, and we will be considering certain factors around fuel prices, weather, CPI, etc. We basically use Python as our development language for basically for data exploration and cleaning. We have used some Python libraries to make sense of data, basically visualization and or seeing on how these things are related to with each other. And we have finally compared different prediction models to determine what best suits this example. So now what I'll do is I'll hand it over to Hitesh, and Hitesh, you can take it forward from there.
Okay, thank you, Niket. So I'll just share my screen. You'll have to stop your screen share. So I hope my screen is visible.
Yes, Hitesh. Thank you.
All right. So first of all, good evening, everyone. So basically, we have put together a small application here. And here you can see a table which contains a number of features such as CPI and fuel price and temperature and so on. And basically these are the features or these are the parameters which affect our online delivery sales. And we'll be taking all these parameters and try to predict the weekly sales value for the online delivery. So like here you can see that we have many rows, and each row essentially has the data for one particular week of the year. So there are total of 52 weeks. So we have we can show, like here we are showing 5 weeks at random. So if I just click on one of the rows, then this loading sign tells that our API is running. First of all, our API is written, the backend API is written in Python, and the front-end UI is made in Flask. And when I clicked on a row and this loaded, so here you can see that we have two columns. The first column contains the actual values and the second column contains the predicted values. So these predicted values are coming through basically using the model, the machine learning model. So we can just click on any other row as well and we'll see, like just a minute. So all these rows will be showing data for different weeks. Okay, so and if I refresh it, then we will get some at random it is showing for weeks now, so we will get some new data as well. So well, anyway, the main thing which here is that all these features are being used for the prediction, and here you can see that the prediction of weekly sales for the 7th week of the year we are getting 187, right? And the actual value for the weekly sales was 161. So it's pretty close. The two values are pretty close. And this value is predicted using our machine learning model. Now I'll just show you guys a little bit behind the scenes, and on the Jupyter notebook I'll take you and I'll show that what is actually happening. So basically what do we have here is we have three different data sets. we have a data set for stores, we have a data set for features, and we have a data set for sales. And all these three data sets, they have some attributes or some columns, or basically you can call them parameters. And I'll just give you a small look at each of these data sets. So this is how the features data set or the features table looks like. And this is how the sales table looks like. And this is the stores table. So I'll just take you back here and I'll just explain you a few of the fields that we have here. So there's this field is holiday. So this is holiday field basically tells that whether the week is a holiday week or not. Like whether we have a holiday in that week, such as Christmas or Thanksgiving or any other big holidays, which basically affect our sales. Because obviously around Christmas or around any of the holidays, the sales, we see that there's a rise in the sales. And also there is this temperature. So obviously the temperature conditions obviously also affect our sales, like if it's raining or if it's snowing on that particular day. So that also affects that how the sales will be, right? So we basically throughout this Jupyter notebook, we'll be doing three major steps. What we'll be doing is that first we'll understand the data using some plots and graphs. After that, we'll clean the data so that we can like optimize it to fit it to our machine learning model. And thirdly, we will be modeling our data. We will be fitting our entire data to many different machine learning models, and we'll find the best machine learning model which we should use. So I'll just go through this. So here in this cell, you can see that we are importing a few libraries which come along with Python. Like we are importing NumPy and Pandas, which is used for data manipulation and linear algebra. And Matplotlib and Seaborn is used for making graphs and plots, which I'll show you guys soon. And here, as you can see, I've imported the three data sets, which are namely the store, the features, and the sales. And first of all, what we'll do is that we'll go through all of these three data sets and we'll take a sneak peek into them. We'll do something which is known as exploratory data analysis. So like I have run a few methods for this feature data set, like this head method. So what this head method essentially does is that it returns the first 5 rows. And here we are doing is null.any to check which of the features in this table, in the features table, have empty values or not. And we are looking at the null values using this as well, using this yellow lines in the heat map. And this heat map is made using Seaborn library. Similarly, we can see many other things, like we can see that here we can see the names of the attributes in the features data set. We can see that the count of non-null values, and we can see the data types. Similarly, for each of the parameters, we can see stuff like standard and minimum, mean, count, and all that. All the statistical parameters. And these are just few of the methods that I've run. Like this dot column shows all the columns in the data set. The D types will show all the data types of each column. The shape is an important command. So basically the shape tells the number of the rows and the columns in our data set. So basically features data set has 8,190 rows and 12 columns. Similarly, the first we did for the features dataset, now we'll be doing for the sales dataset. So the sales dataset, these are the first 5 rows of the sales dataset. We have weekly sales, we have is holiday, we have date, department, and store just tell the type of the department and type of the store. So actually we have the data for 45 different US based stores. So that is how we are getting the data. And these are all the basic methods which I have run for the above dataset and for this dataset as well. And I'll just skip to the important part. So here as well, you can see that we have sales data for 4,21,000 rows and 5 columns we have here. And similarly, for the third data set is our stores data set. So this is how the stores data set looks. Here we are giving the size and the type of the store and the store number. These are the 3 columns. And I'll just skip to the bottom. Here you can see that we have 45 rows and 3 columns, which means we have 45 different stores and 3 columns, these 3 parameters. And after we have looked at the 3 data sets, we will do different kind of analysis using graphs and charts and plots. So basically, like here, what you can see is that firstly we are analyzing based on the date. So here we are optimizing the data in this cell, and I'll just show the first graph. So here, this is the first graph, and in this graph you can see that we are plotting weekly sales upon sales on holiday, and also how the temperature and fuel price and CPI, which is basically the inflation. So we are seeing how all of these things are affecting our data. So here, like you can see the peak points in the graph, which tells that around the holidays such as the Black Friday sale or Thanksgiving or Christmas, it goes on a peak. And this is a correlation matrix. It is basically it is a heat map made using Seaborn, and it is a correlation matrix. So what we have here is that it tells basically the relations between any 2 parameters, like between weekly sales and CPI. We see we have a value of 0.031. So if it's a positive value, then the 2 fields are dependent on each other, and if it's a negative value, then the 2 fields are not dependent on each other. And this is just so that we can understand that which fields are important and which fields are not, and which fields we should take. And in this graph, what we are showing is that here you can see that there is a peak in the month of April, which is this 4th month. There's a peak in the sales, and this is because of the Black Friday sales, which comes in the April month. And also in the month of December, in the 12th month, due to Christmas, you can see that there is going to be a peak in the sales. And so we have listed out some observation points of our own in this Jupyter Notebook file. And in the next graph, you can see that 2011 had the most sales as compared to 2010 and 2012. And let's just skip this graph. And now we have some store-wise analysis. So earlier we were analyzing the data based on different dates. Now we are analyzing the data based on different stores. So like I told you now that we have 45 different stores. So we'll be analyzing data based on that. So like we have this graph here. So here you can see that stores of type A, B, and C, all these are being plotted against count, size, and weekly sales. And we see that for count and size, the ABC is in decreasing order. But for the weekly sales, the store of type B has most weekly sales. So after that, we are analyzing the data based on the department. So department of the stores, like each store has many different departments, right? So like here we are showing 0 to 100 departments, and we are showing the sales in which department the sales was how much. And now we are going to do some analysis based on the type of the store. And we will have basically 2 graphs. The first graph will plot against the years. The second graph will plot against the months. And this is for the year 2010, 2011, and 2012. And the next graph is for the months. So here you can see that there is a decrease in sales in the month of January, whereas there is an increase in November and December months, because those months are basically the holiday seasons. So that's why we have a peak in those months. And okay, so analysis of Markdown. So basically, Markdown is a hidden feature, or it is a masked feature. And actually, we are getting this data set from Kaggle, but the person who published this database on Kaggle, the source, they want to hide some data for privacy reasons. So they are using markdowns as like markdowns 1 to 5, and these markdowns are basically some hidden features or masked features, and we don't really know the name of these features, but we just know that these features somehow affect our delivery sales data, right? So since we don't know the names, I'll just skip through the graphs and plots of this. Yes, so now we are here on this prediction on date and store. So first of all, what we'll do is that we'll import some of the models and algorithms and packages like SVR, which stands for support vector regressor, and gradient boosting, and lasso, rich CV, etc., etc. And we'll be importing importing most of them from the scikit-learn. So scikit-learn is the primary machine learning library which we use, using which we can import models and algorithms. And here in this cell, we are encoding the data. And in this cell, basically what we are doing is we are running an iterative imputer. And an iterative imputer, what it basically does is that it imputes or it fills missing data. So in Markdowns 1 to Markdown 5, we have some missing values, and we will be imputing them, or we'll be filling those missing values using the iterative imputer. Now, there are many ways to fill missing data, like we can use mean, mode, median, and many other statistical concepts. And here we are creating dummies out of categorical columns. So we have 4 different categorical columns, which are type, month, year, and week of year. And we are creating dummies out of these. So basically what I mean is that here you can see for the type, we have made type A, B, C. For the month, we have made from month 1 to month 12. For the year, we are making year 2012, 10 to 2013. And similarly, we are making for the week of the year, because there are 52 weeks. So we have from 1 to 52. So basically what this is, that these are all the various columns in our data which we are going to use. So until now what we have done is we have explored the data, we have understood the data, we have made graphs and plots and visualized it. We have done some data cleaning and encoding and imputing and everything, and we have our final data ready. Now this final data that we have right now is, what we'll do is that we'll divide them into training and test sets, and we have given the test size as 0.2, which basically means that the training set will have 80% of the total data, and the test set will have 20% of the total data. And we'll make prediction. We'll first train the model using the training set, and we'll make predictions, and those predictions will be compared to the test set, like which are the actual values. And that's how we will tell that how precise or accurate our algorithms is. So now what we are having here is that we can have many different machine learning algorithms to run our model upon. Like we can have linear regression, which is like the most basic one. And we have decision tree regression, random forest regression, SVR, support vector regression or support vector machine. And this is the main one, XGB regressor. So this is the main one because we'll primarily be using this one in our application. So XGBR stands for Extreme Gradient Boosting Regressor, and this regressor uses the gradient boosting trees algorithm, and it is a supervised machine learning algorithm, and it tries to predict the data based on the patterns that we obtain. So I'll show. Basically what we are doing is that we are creating an array by the name of classifiers, and we have added many different classifiers, models and algorithms here. Like SVR is for support vector machine, and kernel rich, elastic net, linear regression, and XGBR, and all these. So basically what we'll be doing is that we'll run our data set on all of these models, on each of these models, and we'll find the best model out of this. So the how we can do that, we can do that by calculating the root mean square error, RMSE, and the score for each of these models. So basically RMSE, or the root mean square error, should be the least, and the score, which is the probability score, or the probability the prediction probability, it should be the highest. So here you can see that XGBR has the least RMSE and has the highest score. So this means that XGBR is the best model to use for our data. Like, it fits the data perfectly and it is the best model and it's giving the best results. So this is what happened here, that we first ran tests on each model and we found the score for the best model, and then we'll use this XGBR model to in our main application. So if I go back to the main application, which is this one, so here we are making the predictions using XGBR model, which is the best model. And I can like show you in the backend API, you can see that XGBR model is the one which we have used for our calculation purposes. And whenever I like click on a new row, I'll just click on a new row. So you see this loader sign. So this loader sign is essentially running this API and training the model on the XGBR model and giving the result we are getting here. So here also you can see that the prediction of weekly sales is 160, which our model predicted, and the original was 145. So it's pretty close. So this is what we have done behind the scenes. And yes, so I'll be handing over to Niket now.
Sure. Thank you, Hitesh. That was pretty good. And yes, in this entire example, we did take about 4 or 5 factors into consideration in terms of CPI, in terms of temperature, in terms of fuel prices, etc. So let me just share my screen. All we had for you all, folks, and now we'll kind of leave the floor open for any questions, and I suppose Trilok will help us in case if there are any questions there. He can probably read it out for us.
Yes, guys, any questions, you're please welcome.
I don't see any open question and answers.
You may please use the Q&A section to actually ask the questions, or you can use the chat section as well to ask the questions. If you want something repeated again, yeah, you're good to ask.
There is a question, I think, in the Q&A section.
Are the CSV and IPNB files uploaded on your open source contributions? Not yet. This is not yet uploaded, but we'll make sure like this is uploaded. You may visit this site.
So yeah, in a sense, I'll just add to that. We have not added this to our open source yet. So we will take a call to kind of make it open source, productize it so that people can use it easily as well.
Thanks, Nikhil. Yeah, I've added some more as well. So gitlab.com/bytebridge. Probably you may visit that page to understand our open source contributions. Any more questions? We are waiting for your questions. We assume like there are no more questions. If you have questions, probably you can get back to us on info@bytebridge.com. If you have more questions, we're good to answer them. And yeah, so with all due respect, thank you speakers, Niket and Hitesh for handling the session so beautifully. And thanks Vabe and Shweta for helping us organize this webinar. So with that, we will be closing it. Niket, anything to add for this?
No, thank you all. Thanks for your patience. Thanks for your time. And thank you for attending. And thank you, Trilok and Huawei, for this opportunity.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.